So who can tell me which question they were answering and which of the noticings or wonderings helped them make sense of that question? Okay, so you might need to put on your binoculars to see the board and then. Okay.
I did question number 4 and
Which was which? If Charlie split them evenly, how many would each friend have?
no, if he had a 6th friend.
Oh, if he had a sixth, another friend. Okay. Okay.
The one where it says he has 120 gumballs, help me. And I said if Charlie had a 6th friend, he would get 5 gumballs because at the end he had 10 and half of them was 5.
Good. Did anyone else answer that same question? Did you guys get the same thing? Yeah. And did we think? I think I pushed you guys to think about it another way too, didn't I? What did you guys think about?
If he split his other gumballs with his friend first instead of his sister.
Right. So remember, at the very end, he has 15 because he had 5 he gave to his sister. So he might give the 5 to his sister then, or he might split and then give 5 to his sister at the end. So there's 2 ways you could think about that problem. Yeah. And one thing we also talked about was, this was a noticing, right? He has 120 gumballs. Someone noticed that? But I did push you guys to make sure you thought that was true, right? Because when you guys notice things, I'm going to put everything on the board. And then we have to make sure when we do our math that it's all right. Okay? Do we think 120 was good? I think it's pretty good. But okay, go ahead. Oh, okay.
We did number 4.
And read the question because not everyone numbered them the same way.
If Charlie split them evenly, how many would each one have?
Okay.
So I put Charlie and his friends would get 24 gumballs each day if they divided them equally. And I drew 120 circles, and I circled 60 because half of 120 is 60.
And then 60 went to Jason.
Yeah, 60 went to Jason, and then I circled 30 because half of 60 is 30, and that went to
Miranda.
Yeah. And then I circled what half of 30 is, and that's 15, and they gave that to Zach. And then half 15 is 5, so he gave 5 to his sister. Or no, it's not.
Yeah.
He just gave 5 to his sister.
Yeah.
All right. And
That was
then,
the rule. That was the half rule was gone.
yeah, and then he had 10 left over for himself.
Okay, good. So yeah, this is a nice problem where drawing a picture can really help you make sense of it. And did you start with 120 or did you start with 10?
I just drew 120.
That's fine. It's a good way to test, right? Like if you didn't come out with 10 after you gave 5, you would know it wasn't. Okay. Right. So one thing that happens in math sometimes is that it's really useful to state what we call the assumptions you're making, right? So you made an assumption that his sister was going to get 5 no matter what. And you looked at the original problem and you said his sister got 1/3 of what he had, so I'm going to still give his sister 1/3. Right? So I don't think either, I think both of those are perfectly good interpretations, but sometimes we're going to get different answers. We have to make it really clear what we were thinking when we got those answers. And that's one of the reasons why writing out our solutions helps us, because we can say things like, I assumed that his sister always got 1/3. And that's a perfectly valid answer. And you can say, I assume he likes his sister 5 gumballs. Never more, never less. So she always gets 5. Right? So that's one thing that happens in math. So you made a beautiful picture. Can you tell us about it? Anyone how that worked for?
I believe he started on 120. And I divided by 2, and I got 60. They split it evenly, so they both get 60. If I divided that by 2, I got 30. If I divided that by 2, I got 15. And I subtracted 5, and I got 10.
Good. What I like about your model is I think you could start with any number at the top. So if you had twice as many, or if you had 3 times as many, or if you had 4 times as many. So I think that's a neat, sometimes your drawing can really help you because you can use it for lots of different situations. Thank you. All right, anyone else have any solutions or questions they answered that they want to share? All right, so I think you guys did a fabulous job with this problem. And I think your teacher should have you write all your test questions from now on. At least one every once in a while.
Yeah.
Wait, like come up with our own.
And she'll decide which one is you know, most challenging, and you guys are good at coming up with challenging questions. So I think we've got now, we have to make sure our assumptions are really clear. What were we thinking when we solved our problem? So were we thinking that she gives the 5 gumballs, or Charlie gives the 5 gumballs to his sister before he breaks them in half or after, like in your guys' problem? Or were we thinking that they always get a third or she always gets 5? Those kind of things are important in math to make sure you make clear.